it's Desiree, and I am here with another design team project for Scrapping for Less. So the stamp set that I'm going to use is by Sugar Pea Designs, and it's called Book Circus. So I just thought the images, especially the little lion and the elephant, were just precious. So I grabbed a couple of my oxides. I grabbed peacock feathers and broken china, and I'm using one of my finger daubers. And I'm putting it on heavily. I'm not looking for it to blend. I'm not looking for it to do something specific, but I'm looking to be able to put a lot of ink down on the paper. Now, I could have just taken the stamp pad and brushed it along the paper. There's all kinds of ways you could do this. For some reason, I do like the finger daubers. I'm very comfortable with those. So I'm just spreading out a lot of colors between these two shades of blue. I don't want too much of a contrast. I'm looking for it to, be close together. Once I have that put on the card, I'm leaving an area open because I don't need to go down that far. And now I'm grabbing my water bottle and I'm just spraying this. I want them to merge. I want them to blend. So it's almost as if I'm creating another color, so to speak. Because again, I'm not looking for too much of the oxide to come through. It was just something I was looking for, and I love grabbing for my oxides. I'm using my Ranger heat tool to dry this panel, and this panel is a Bristol cardstock that I am using. I grabbed a piece of pattern paper from my stash, and this is all wood patterns that I have. I'm going to grab my paper trimmer, and I'm going to cut 1/2-inch strips from this paper. And I'm just going to chop a bunch. So while I'm looking for the top of my panel to be, of course, blue, I'm looking for the bottom, the base of it, to just have a wood grain look, but yet know that it's a floor, if that makes sense. So once I have these cut, I'm going to grab my vintage photo ink, and I'm going to ink around the edges just to give them some shadows, some dimension, shading. And I'm going to do that to these strips because I'm not quite sure how many I'm going to use. So I always cut more than what I need. And then I'm also going to do that to the panel where I put the blue because I want that vintage photo to go around that as well. Because the images are absolutely precious. But to me, for some reason, when I see them, I do think of vintage. Unfortunately, we don't have circuses. Well, we have circuses, but not this type of circuses, yes. And it's a shame. I used to enjoy going all the time. So, okay, back to the project. I was rambling again. So I'm putting down my strips, and I'm going to stagger them. So I have the one placed at the bottom. I'm going to bring this one just a little bit above it, leaving that white space. It'll be covered. I'm using my Nuvo liquid adhesive for this. I'm not propping any of them up yet. This other strip is going to go on top of the last, but just a little bit closer. And then I changed my mind, and I'm like, you know what? I want that to go straight down. So you can see with the vintage photo, you kind of still have the separation, even though I've placed them right next to each other, side by side. For this last one, I'm going to prop this up using some foam squares that I'm going to cut down and put along this strip. And that's going to cover the opening between those other two panels up on the blue base there above. Once I know they're in place, I'm going to remove the backing and then set that down onto my card panel. Once that's set, we are going to trim off the edges so that it's even. And this panel that I'm working on, it does measure 4 inches by 5 1/4. I did not use any frame dies. I just cut that piece of paper down. I'm going to be using a red 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, a general A2 size card. This time, instead of a top folding, it's going to be a side folding. I'm going to stamp my images that I chose with my Memento Black Tuxedo ink because I am going to, I'm not going to use my alcohol. I actually use my Prismacolors for my color medium on these. But I do like the way the Memento does stamp for my when I use my Prismacolors. It's not a pitch black, but I like that it's like a dark charcoal. I don't know. Again, these are things that I see. It's a little strange. Memento for me, it's perfect for alcohol markers. But again, when I use it for my Prismacolors, I just like the way it looks against them. I don't have too harsh of lines. I want my coloring to be the main show, but emphasize the image, if that makes sense. So we're going to start coloring. This is just one of the smaller sets that I have of my Prismacolors. Yes, I have many. And so I grabbed that, and then here are my images. Through the wonderful thing of video, I have these colored, and I already fussy cut them out. So now I'm going to stamp my sentiment, and the sentiment that I chose, I thought it was just perfect. Life is a circus. If you've seen my other videos, I like the funny sentiments, or the puns. To me, that makes me giggle when I make a card, and life certainly is. Life can definitely be a circus. So once I have that stamped, I grabbed my Lawn Fawn Everyday Sentiment banners, and I have that sitting there because that's what I'm going to use to cut my sentiment out. And now I'm going to start placing my focal images. So the first items that I'm going to set in place are I'm not sure what they're called. Oh my goodness, little platforms, we'll call them platforms, that our characters are going to stand on. And for this last one, I'm just going to put the foam square up at the top because it's going to overhang onto that one that is raised. Once they are set in place, I'm just going, with all of that water, this will bend. I didn't tape it down. I don't like taping down my pieces. Again, it takes time. So I just always bend it the opposite way. And I've never had a problem with that. And I've also never had a problem getting my pieces to lay flat on my card bases either. This is why. When you have a piece that does warp, if you don't tape it down, or again, it's a small piece, you're just doing some ink smushing, I either like to use Fun Foam with the super adhesive double-sided tape that I use, or double-sided tape. This is score tape, because it's very strong, and I will use a lot of it to make sure that when I put this down on my card base, it's going to help it to lay flat, and it stays flat. It doesn't coil up the card base or anything like that. So you can see we have the sentiment in place. I did cut 1/2 of the banner off. Now I'm using some sequins. These are actually the packs that we get in the awesome Flavor of the Month kits. I don't throw anything away. And I just used those to place those around. I thought the colors were perfect. And here's the close-up of the card that we made today. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, hit that thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to do so. You don't want to miss any more videos about to be released. The stamp set that I used will be linked down in the video description, along with the Scrapping for Less shop and also their blog. Make sure you sign up for their blog notifications. You'll be able to see so many more beautiful designs being created. And by all means, you have got to go roam around the shop. They have some great products that will fulfill any crafting need you may have. If you have any questions or comments, make sure you leave them down below, and I will get back to you as soon as I can. Life, it's a funny thing, kind of gets in the way, but I will make sure that I answer any and all of your questions or comments. I hope everyone's having a great day, but always remember, and to me this is most important, Always be creative.